Hello everybody, welcome to Talk of the Town. This is Steve Putnam here with you this week. Glad to be back. Took a little hiatus, but I'm glad to be back with you today. I'm very glad to be talking to our first guest. I think this is the first time you've been on our show before, isn't it?
It is today.
Well, let's swing this camera around and introduce everybody here to Mr. Alex Lattimore, who is the president of the Cleveland County Fair. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me, Steve.
And I'm really excited that you're sitting in this chair, because if you're sitting here talking to me, that means the fair is going to be across the street very soon.
You're correct.
That is awesome. I love the fair, and I know a lot of people out there share the same sentiment that I do. Now, I'm curious about you, because this is the first time we've had you on our show. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been the president?
I've actually been the president since 2019. First 2 years serving as president, I served under COVID.
Oh dear, I was going to say that had to be terrible.
It was. We managed through a lot trying to just deal with the pandemic, and it was unfortunate that we didn't have the fair for 2 years. So
I know that's. So I know the first time, your first 2 years, you didn't even get to have a fair, did you?
we did not.
Wow. So when you finally got to have one, what did that feel like?
We had to knock the rust off. It was, as the fair, it's always something. It's a living, breathing animal that you just have to deal with, and it's coming whether you like it or not. It's what Bobby Jenks always told me.
That's true. Now, how is Bobby? What's he up to these days?
Bobby's doing well. He's out there trying to plan everything for the fair. He's pulling out all the stops this year.
Well, that's what we want to hear. All the stops pulled out. Now, I know the fair, this is a special year for you guys, isn't it?
It is. This is our 100th anniversary.
Wow.
We've been around since 1924 with the Kiwanis Club.
Now, is there anybody that can come to this fair that can say they've been to every single one of them?
I believe so. We have two people that are, if they've not been to every one, it's been almost every one, and that's Miss Sophie Goforth and Ambrose Klein.
Wow. And I know those names, so they've been around for a while. I know for the longest time, I know there were several people every year and the list would dwindle, though, as it would go down. But that's pretty awesome that they can say they've been to either all of them or almost every one of them. And one of the nice things that I know about the fair is that somebody who's been to every single one of them can come back this year, and there will be some things that haven't changed, right?
You're right. It's a lot of this is just nostalgia from what people, we try to instill that so that people can come to the fair and see what they've seen in the past, and then we try to put some new things just to try to cater to the new generations.
Because that's kind of the balance you have as president, isn't it?
It is. It's trying to make everybody happy.
Well, good luck. If you figure out how to do that, please let me know. And it does seem that you guys do it pretty well, because you have found that balance. It is something that every year people can come back and find those things that they're nostalgic or sentimental about. But every year there's always something fresh and new about the fair too.
You're right.
That's amazing. I mean, tell us a little bit about, like, I know this is the 100th year, or what kind of things are we doing this year to celebrate the 100th?
Well, for this year, we've engaged a new marketing group to provide us with some guidance on how to attract other people into the fair. And so we're going to have the first ever drone show at the fair this year. Instead of fireworks, our first night event will be a drone show. We will have fireworks next Tuesday, but this Thursday we'll have a drone show.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
And we've got some other things going on on the grandstands this year. We're going to have a monster truck show. As always, we have our demolition derby, and we'll have a rodeo again this year.
Okay, so again, you've got that mix of things from the past that people expect, and the things that you're trying to do to draw in the new. I know the fair itself, it's been around like for 100 years in
Yes.
Cleveland County. How did it get started? What's the roots of the fair?
We are actually an agriculture fair, and that's one of the differences that we always need to make sure that people understand. We try to showcase what the farmers do, and because one of the big things in Cleveland County is agriculture. You've got your livestock, you've got your poultry, you've got your row crops and everything else. And so whenever this fair started, it was one of the things for them to showcase those items. And of course, you have your foods and the rides to try to mix in a little bit of fun with education.
Right. But and I know that that's something, the agricultural portion of it, that over the 100 years has really changed. Because I know when I was a kid, um, it was in the process of shifting from Cleveland County being cotton, king cotton, to other things.
Right.
And that shift has continued over the years, hasn't it?
It has, and we see now, even in our livestock barn, there's a larger presence of goats and sheep, as much as where the dairy has decreased. And so you see a lot of that.
That's true. They used to have a milking demonstration. I remember when I was a kid, because dairy was so huge in Cleveland County. I'd forgotten that till you said that. I'm glad you said that. And it's one of those. It's over the years it does reflect. I mean, what's at the fair reflects what's going on in the county agriculturally every year, doesn't it?
It does, and we've had to go through some troubles with that, just as like we did with COVID, because of we are such a large poultry producer. We couldn't have birds at the fair last year and the year before that, because there are so many chicken houses around that the scare of avian flu that the Department of Agriculture told us not to have poultry on site.
Oh, wow. So are there restrictions that you're having to work around this year as well?
I'm not 100% sure yet on the poultry part of things, but other than that, we just need to promote the proper hand hygiene when people go down to the barns, to make sure they wash their hands, just to make sure everybody doesn't pass anything.
That's right. I know, because during the COVID years, when you joined on and you were trying to plan for this, I know that was probably particularly rough that second year, because you planned the whole fair and then got right up to the end and couldn't do it.
You're exactly right.
That had to be horrible.
It was heartbreaking. It was.
Oh my goodness.
But we had to just listen to the advice of the manager of the county, because they were the ones that steered us in the direction that we felt like that was the safest bet, and we adhered to what they told us to do.
Well, and that's of course what you absolutely have to do. But here we go this year. We're going to have a fair. It's right around the corner. Now I know that when you're putting this together, it takes pretty much all year of preparation to get ready for those 2 weeks, doesn't it?
We're preparing now for next year.
For next year. See,
Yes.
I was going to say after this fair you'll immediately start, but you're starting already, aren't you?
Yes.
Wow.
We're looking at what went well this year and starting to just take notes to make sure what we need to do better next year.
For the 101st.
That's it.
That's it, because it just keeps right on rolling. It is one of those things in Cleveland County that people mark time with, isn't it?
They do.
It is just part of our fabric of this community.
We always have the fair the last week of September and the first week of October. It's just it's a given.
That's awesome. I know when I've retired from here from Cleveland Community College, but I know when I was working here, we did the same thing, because every year we knew this was going to be the fall break. Here it comes. The fair's going to be here. We would look forward to it every year too, because we could just walk right across the street and eat things we shouldn't eat every day.
Yes.
And we'll get to the food and things a little bit later on in the second half of our segment today. But I know that's something that draws people in too. I mean, it's not just the agriculture and seeing the things every year, but you have the exhibit hall, of course, that has other things besides the agricultural represented.
Right.
And you have a lot of participation in that too, don't you?
We do. We have a lot of, from the 4-H side of things, we also have the schools to be able, everybody has to compete with having their school booth in there to see who can get the first place ribbon. And then you have all the art and craft exhibits and the flowers and the gardening, and it's just, and the crafts, and the canning and the baked goods is something that I've noticed since I was small has decreased some, but there's still the people that enjoy doing that and showing off their hard work.
Yep. And that does sort of come and go too, doesn't it, depending on the generation and the people. But it's always been there, and it's one of those things that people look forward to, walking through the exhibit hall every year. So it's now when you get out of the exhibit hall and you get out onto the fairground, one of the things that a lot of people look forward to, especially the kids, are the rides.
You're right.
Now, these guys that come, this association that you have, is this the same? How long does this go back with Reithofer?
With Reithofer, it's been as long as I can remember. I don't know the exact years, but they have been a trusted partner with us over the years. So I don't want to give my age, but it's
Wow. Well, I'm older than you, and it's all I remember. I'll put it that way, because that's why I was curious. I remember seeing that R on the side of the trucks and the rides and everything for as long as I can remember. I don't ever remember anybody else being associated with the ride portion. They've been a faithful partner, haven't they?
They have. And Pat Reithofer has been a very trusted person that we can always depend on to bring in new rides and just have a safe, clean carnival on the Midway.
And that's something that I remember. People would joke about this, that how fast they put it up or take it down. But I don't ever remember an issue with them.
No, and
it's just always been amazing that they could be there that many years and come and go, and it always be something that's safe and predictable and well run.
And the Department of Labor comes in on the day before the fair to ensure that everything is working.
That's awesome. Now, I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to see that first ride go up. Is it up yet?
It's not up
yet. I ride by to see, because I know they put that tallest one up, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to wait for it. I got to wait for it. I got to see it, because it's one of those things, like I say, you see it and you know it's time. It's time for the Cleveland County Fair, and it does. The fair brings joy to this county. People look forward to the fair every year, don't they?
They do. I do. I've always enjoyed it. I knew it was fall. Fall was here when the fair was here.
See, you get to play. You say you have a job, but you're really playing. You get to plan the fair. That's got to be awesome. Oh, man, I know you've got a busy couple of weeks because you're pretty much out there the whole time, I'm sure.
I am. We try to stay behind the scenes, but Bobby needs as much help as he can because it's hard just to run this fair by one person. So.
I know it is. Now, I know that we're going to have to take a break here, but now when we get back, I know we've talked about the history, but what everybody's going to want to know is, what am I going to get to eat? What am I going to get to do? Who am I going to see? All about this year's fair. So when we come back right after these messages, we're going to find out what's going to happen this year at Cleveland County Fair.
Welcome to me.
Take two. Now keep going. I don't know. Have one question.
Yes.
Are those crabs on your shirt?
They are.
I just noticed that a couple of minutes ago.
I was preparing.
I've been mesmerized ever since.
Exactly. What the heck? What the,
Tim, you all right back there?
She gets into a soul cycle accident.
A soul cycle
Yes.
accident. Yeah.
What?
Soul cycle.
It's like an exercise class where they're all
Oh, no wonder I don't know what you're talking about.
Arsenic, cadmium, fluorine, formaldehyde, rubidium, lithium.
Do yourself a favor and don't image search for exploding e-cigarettes.
What you don't know about e-cigarettes can hurt you.
Are you ready to take all this in?
The only prediction I'd make is I'd be pretty willing to bet I won't be doing it in 20 more years.
My question is, where's our residual checks?
144 have taken Republican ballots, and Wes and two others have taken Libertarian ballots.
Pravda, however, TBS, however.
Wes.
Wes.
Ladies
and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talk of the Town. We're talking about the Cleveland County Fair, and I know that's something you're interested in, and it's something I'm interested in because we live in Cleveland County, and this is like the biggest thing that happens here just about every year, isn't it?
It is.
Is it? Now, we're talking to Mr. Alex Lattimore, president of the Cleveland County Fair, and we're so glad that you're with us today. And we've been talking about the history of the Cleveland County Fair, but now we get to talk about this year's Cleveland County Fair because it's going to be an exciting one, isn't it?
It is. We've actually got a title sponsor this year for the fair, and that's
Really?
Albemarle.
Awesome.
And so we're trying to branch out, and that was one of the things that we thought would be a good thing to do to support some of the local businesses here in the county.
That is pretty cool. Now, when this fair opens this year, let's talk a little bit about the things that people want to know. And the first is, what are the dates?
The dates will start on October I'm gonna get my cheat sheet out. September the 26th
Yep.
through October the 6th.
October the 6th.
And that'll be Sunday.
So if folks are going to bring in exhibits, they'll have to there's a schedule before the 26th that they'll have to bring them in those few days before, isn't there?
There is. That will be September 24th. We'll be taking everything that needs to come into the exhibit hall from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Got to write that down. Now, I know there's a fair book folks can get to there that tells them like the rules for the exhibits
Yes.
and the different things that they can enter. They can get a hard copy of that, but they can also access that online, can't they?
They can. We tried to put everything online to modernize, and if you need anything for the fair book or any of that, it's published online. If you go to clevelandcountyfair.com, you'll be able to see the book there and the rules and regulations for all the entries.
Right. Because I know there are some, and because one year I was going to put some pictures in, and I got there with them and said, "You don't have them in frames," and I was like, "What?" Because they had changed the rules. So if you're going to enter something, they need to go check the rules out.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely. Now I know also for those folks that are doing livestock, the same thing is true for that as well, and they've probably already looked into that because we're getting close to time here.
Yes. Yes, that if you're waiting on livestock, you probably missed the boat this year.
Probably missed the boat. There you go. That's what I was thinking too. But there are some folks that are thinking, wow, I want to get my tickets ahead of time. I want to be ready. So talk to me about entry tickets, because I've seen the signs around town, buy your tickets here, buy your tickets here. Tell us a little bit about the entry to the fair, getting those tickets.
Okay. There's several options you can do there. One is Kelly's Seafood, who always has been a very trusted partner with us on that. You can get your armbands or tickets there, cutting up in the upper end of the county. You can get them there, or you can go to our website. And if you miss those opportunities, you can actually buy them at the gate or at some of the kiosks that we have outside the gate if you want to try to dodge some of the lines to get to the ticket counters.
Right, and that's what I was mentioning to you. I was really happy to see those kiosks out there, and that worked really well last year because I weren't aware that they were going to be there, and you just get out of line and click, and in you go. Oh, that was awesome because it was a pretty long line that I was going to have to be standing in. So there are several ways, and a lot of this can be done, like you say now, online.
Right.
So.
And the only way you can get, that's the entry tickets, and Kelly's can provide you with some armbands that you can use. Those can be used any day. Otherwise, you have to go on the grounds to go down to the Reithofer area to purchase ride tickets after the fair starts.
There you go. So then I know we talked a little bit about the ride tickets that Reithofer maybe had a new system in place or was going to try out a new system.
Yes.
Take a minute or two and tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, they're gonna try a new system this year where we're not using paper tickets for to get on rides. It'll be a card that you'll go up to a booth down on the midway and be able to load a card, kind of like a credit card, that you'll be able to load your amount of tickets on and swipe it whenever you get to a ride.
Oh, that's cool. So it's going to be like a card that you would use like at a prepaid Visa card or something.
Yes.
Right, and you just go up and swipe it and you can get on. Oh, that's
Yes.
awesome.
And
That's pretty
that seems to be what a lot of the carnival operators are going to nowadays.
That's a good. Well, so then they'll have those when you go up and get your tickets at the booth. You'll get a card.
Correct.
Rather than just the paper tickets.
Yes.
That's awesome. So everybody's dragging themselves into the 21st century.
They are.
All right. So now that should streamline a lot of that process.
Yes.
And then once we start doing that, and you get your cards and you take your kids out and you're going to pass these wonderful places where we can get food.
Yes.
And so before you get to the ride, you're going to have to stop and have cheeseburgers and corn dogs. And so tell us a little bit about the food vendors this year and who we can expect that's coming back and who we can expect perhaps that's new.
All your favorite people that you've been accustomed to, they'll be there. Bobby does a wonderful job of trying to give everyone a variety so that you don't have the same thing every booth, so you can taste everything from muscadine slushies to vinegar fries to funnel cakes and all these other unique things. I'm sure there's some things that are new this year that I haven't been told about.
Well, you're reading off my favorites.
Yes.
So you can just keep going. And I know that there's some that it's one of those things you expect, like you every year know, hey, this vendor's probably going to be right about here.
Yes. We've had to mix things up a little bit this year because we've had a lot of construction going on out there.
Oh, really?
And we've built new bathrooms and refurbished all the old bathrooms. And we also have a new public safety bay adjacent to the one that we had there last year. So in that area, we've had to be a little creative with where some of the known vendors like the turkey leg man, he's going to have to be moved over to a different spot, but
We'll follow the smell.
yes.
Because we'll find him. And I know that's something that everybody has come to understand or expect, is that you're going to have that wonderful variety of fair food, and then there's going to be things you just simply don't expect. And I can't wait to see what's going to be fresh and new out there this year. But it's also comforting to know that you're going to be able to get a lot of burger. You're going to be able to get your turkey leg. You're going to be able to get your corn on the cob, and of course your vinegar fries. Those guys have been with the fair for as long as I can remember too.
They have, and it's a staple.
It is a staple, and I've often thought that is the perfect. All they've got is potatoes and salt and cooking oil. And that's just, I love the simplicity of it, but it is the most awesome thing to get that little cup of vinegar fries. So I know you got me going here, so we're just going to have to skip over this and move on to the next. So one of the things I know that people look forward to is that, but also one of the things that people look forward to are the things that have come to be really special to me, and that's not only what happens on the grandstand, which we're coming back to, but there's these little pop-up shows all throughout the fairgrounds.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about those.
We've got John Norris, who's one of the country artist singers. He'll be there again this year. We've got some comedy acts, and we'll have something new this year. We're going to have some roving entertainment dancing around that you'll be able to see. And we'll leave that as a surprise. It'll be on the book. If you check out the website and look at the schedule, you'll be able to see what some of these items are.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
But we always try to have just a good mixture for everybody to get as free entertainment on the grounds.
Right. So I know throughout the Midway, that's always been the case. Some years you have a circus, some years you have jugglers, some you have pig races, and it varies. It goes from year to year. So I suppose some of this year it'll be, again, a mix of some of the things we've seen before, but also, like you just said, some things that we've never seen before that are new this year.
Right.
That's pretty cool. That's awesome. Now, another thing I know that people are going to look forward to is something I've already heard you say, and I've already told you my grandkids are going to lose their minds over this, is some of the stuff that's going to happen and in the grandstand itself. And I remember when the grandstand was just a big dirt bank, which tells how old I am. So, just a big old dirt bank you had to go sit on to watch whatever was happening. It's really nice up there now, isn't it?
It is. We've been fortunate to build a nice structure and covered, and it's just a lot different than what it used to be.
A lot different. I totally agree. And in that lot different place, tell us some of the entertainment we can expect to see this year.
All right, I'll pull up my cheat sheet again.
That's okay.
That's we'll have a ranch rodeo the first night of the fair.
Oh, cool.
We'll have a rodeo we haven't had one in a while. Then we'll have that again the Friday night. We'll have our normal, what everybody has come to enjoy is the Demolition Derby.
Demolition Derby.
That will be on both Saturday nights. We'll also have something called the Monster Nitro Truck Show. That will be Thursday, October the 3rd. And then we'll have Tough Trucks on the grandstands on October the 4th.
Tough Trucks. So I got to write that down because they're going to want to come to that too. So now the monster trucks thing, you've never had the monster trucks, have you?
We've not. This is something new that we're just trying out to see if it's something that is a big draw to the community. So.
Well, there's going to be 2 little kids in the stand for sure.
All right. That's what we
There's
like to
going
hear.
to be. I'm going to be surprised if that's not your biggest night because for some reason, and it may just be because there was a Monster Jam just recently in Charlotte. The kids around that have lost their minds over monster trucks
That's good to hear.
lately. So I know that's going to be a really big date on our schedule because as soon as they hear that there's going to be monster trucks out there, Pop-Pop's going to be taking them to the fair. So and I know you mentioned some other things like tough trucks and other things, but it does change from year to year because sometimes you have tractor pulls, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have this, sometimes you do shake it up some to sort of have a variety of things for the Grand Strand show every year, don't you?
We do, because we like to measure what the people like, because as times is going on, people's interests have changed, and so we're just trying to steer our way towards what everyone likes.
Right. And we're back to that balance again as president of trying to decide every year, how do we preserve what people expect through sentiment and what their expectations of the fair are every year, with keeping it fresh and keeping it interesting for those who are entering into the fair scene for the first time.
Right, and we as the board, we entrust Bobby to do everything possible to do that, and he travels around. He goes to all the fairs up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and he sees what works and is able to bring back some of those ideas to incorporate here.
And you are, to me it seems, and you tell me if I'm wrong, it almost seems that you guys are a little bit unique because a lot of the fairs that you go to or you hear about these days are like our North Carolina State Fair, or like the one that's being held in a big fairgrounds in the Capitol. But the county fair is becoming something of something that you don't hear so much of anymore.
You don't, and we are one of the largest agriculture fairs east of the Mississippi, and agriculture county fairs. They're still the regional and state fairs, but if you go out into the Midwest and you mention the Cleveland County Fair, a lot of the people who are the concessionaires do know who we are. So we're not something that's just local here to Cleveland County.
See, that's the thing about it. That's what I was thinking about, because we're so well known because we have maintained that, where so many other, in fact, most all of the other county fairs have dwindled or died or become very, very small events.
Yes.
But not this one. This
No.
one has remained one of the largest events that happens, not just in Cleveland County, but in North Carolina.
Right. And we draw from all around. There was an economic study shown that the radius that people come from to this fair is pretty remarkable.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for all that you do, because it gives so much back to Cleveland County, and thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you for watching our show, because we don't have a show unless you watch it. So look right here at the bottom of the screen. info@c19.tv is how you can tell us the wonderful things that you know are happening right in your own backyard, so that we can share that with those who tune into our show. But until next time, this is Steve Putnam saying have a great time at the Cleveland County Fair, and we'll see you next time. Have a great week.